Most people waste money on cruise add-ons, but this is one thing that I think is worth paying for on embarkation day if you're cruising with NCL. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ashley Neal. I'm a registered nurse and also a travel agent. Today we're going to talk about where to stay before you're sailing, when to actually arrive at the terminal, and what embarkation day actually looks like when sailing out of Port Canaveral with NCL. Also, I'm going to help you decide if priority access with NCL is actually worth the money, because I think this is maybe one thing that can completely change your embarkation day. If you're new here and planning a cruise, hit subscribe and follow along because I post information every single week that's going to save you time, money, and stress. So first, let's talk about Port Canaveral itself. It's actually located on Florida's Space Coast. It's about 45 miles east of Orlando, and it's about a 45-minute drive from the Orlando International Airport. Now, NCL operates out of Terminal 10, which is actually a very modern and well put together port, so it's easy for embarkation day. But here's the thing, you do not want to be making that 45-minute to an hour drive the day of your cruise from the airport. So this is where it gets tricky. If your sailing departs at 4 p.m. and the terminal opens at 10 a.m. to start letting passengers in, you technically have time. But if you're flying in that day of your cruise and you hit traffic or flight delays, you're going to miss your cruise. This is going to cause your stress level to go through the roof on a day that's supposed to be one of the most exciting of your cruise. And honestly, I've seen this happen so many times with clients flying in the day of their sailing. One delayed flight or bad traffic delay, and your embarkation day becomes incredibly stressful when it's supposed to be exciting. But here's something most first-time cruisers don't realize. The hotel you choose the night before your cruise can make your embarkation day either smooth or chaotic. And I see a lot of people make this mistake when they're doing their planning. So with this, there's two strategies. You can stay near the port, or you can stay at the airport. It really depends on your situation. If you want to stay right at the port, you've got great options like the Hampton Inn and Suites, Cape Canaveral, the Country Inn and Suites by Radisson, or the Radisson Resort at the port. These hotels are literally minutes from Terminal 10, and some of them offer a shuttle right to the terminal in the morning. The Radisson, for example, has a shuttle for around $6 to $10 a person. So you drop your bags off, you sleep, you hop on a shuttle, and you're at the terminal without any care in the world the next day. I would steer you towards this option of a hotel that has a shuttle because it just completely eliminates any morning travel stress. Now, in saying that, if you have a late arriving flight and you want to stay closer to the airport, that absolutely works. There are great options near the International Airport. The Holiday Inn, Orlando Airport, the Avita Hotel, and La Quinta. What's really convenient is that companies like GoPort offer packages where your hotel and your cruise transfer are bundled together. So they pick you up at the hotel the next morning and drop you off right at the terminal. It's really a seamless option if portside hotels are sold out or they're out of your budget. Okay, so now let's talk about timing. When do you actually show up at the terminal? So NCL is going to assign you a check-in time. And this is really important because before you leave home, you need to do your online check-in on the NCL app. Your assigned boarding time is going to be right in your e-documents. You can either access them on the app or on the website for NCL. Now, in saying that, Port Canaveral with NCL usually starts welcoming guests into the terminal between 10 and 10:30, and boarding usually starts between 11 and 11:30 as a general rule. So now, if you have an 11:30 general boarding time and you show up at the terminal at 9 o'clock, they're not going to let you into the terminal that early before your boarding time. Now, there are some exceptions to this rule, and I'm going to get into this in a minute. And in just a minute, I'm going to actually explain one thing that surprises almost everybody that boards an NCL ship for the first time in Port Canaveral. But first, we're going to talk about what the check-in and security looks like for a regular passenger. When you pull up to the terminal, the first thing you're going to do is give your bags to the porters outside the terminal, and they will bring your check bags to your cabin later in the day. After this, head inside and go through security. And honestly, it looks a lot like an airport security. You walk through a metal detector, your bags go through an x-ray machine, and you carry on your way. Once you go through security, you're going to go to the check-in counter. They're going to look at your documents, scan your passport, and take your picture. Then they'll assign you a group number for boarding, and you sit at the terminal and wait until your group number is called. For regular passengers, the boarding process usually starts around 11:30, and you go once your group number is called. But this is where I want to talk about the thing I mentioned at the first of the video. So let's talk about NCL's Priority Access, because this is the one thing I think is actually worth the money on embarkation day. So with this is how it works. Priority Access is a paid add-on through NCL Cruise Lines. And for 2026, it runs anywhere between $129 a person to $329 a person. The price varies based on your ship and how long your sailing is. And what you get is a dedicated check-in counter. So you're not standing in regular lines. You get priority placed in one of the first boarding groups, which means you're one of the first regular guests on the ship. You also get priority disembarkation at the end of the cruise, reserved seating at select shows, and a few other perks like complimentary breakfast and a spa discount. Now, in saying that, there are guests who get priority access automatically and don't have to pay for it. If you book through the Haven, which is NCL's luxury suite within a ship experience, priority boarding is included. And if you have Platinum, Platinum Plus, or Sapphire tier in the NCL's Latitude reward program, you also get priority embarkation at no extra cost. So if you're already at those tiers, you don't need to purchase it. But here's the catch. If you're not in one of those tiers yet and you haven't booked the Haven, you're going to be one of the regular passengers' boarding times. And on a ship that carries 3, 4, sometimes 5,000 passengers, that boarding queue is long. Honestly, I think the reason people love priority access is not because of the perks on paper, it's because your embarkation day feels calm and not chaotic. My opinion is priority access is well worth your money, especially if you're sailing on a larger ship like the Joy, the Encore, or the Bliss. Those ships carry massive amounts of passengers and can feel very chaotic without priority access. But with priority access, you have your own check-in counter, you have your own boarding time, and you're one of the first people on the ship in a calm, non-chaotic way. Getting on the ship first means you're going to have shorter lines at the buffet for lunch, you're going to have quieter pool areas, and you're going to have easier reservations for your shows and dining times. And honestly, you're going to have a much more exciting first impression of your cruise. There's really something special about being one of the first people on board the ship. It just feels different. All right, so now that we've talked about the check-in, let's get to the best part, which is actually getting on the ship. So once your boarding group is called, or once priority group opens, you're going to make your way to the gangway. And honestly, this is the moment everybody waits for. Now, one thing to know, your stateroom is most likely not going to be ready right away. Cabins typically open around 1 p.m., so there's usually about an hour or two between when you board and when you actually get into your room. But honestly, this is my favorite time on the whole cruise. So this is where it can get a little bit tricky for first timers. They don't know what to do with themselves, so they just wander. But if you're prepared, here is what I suggest. First, if you have specialty dining reservations that you still need to make or show reservations, you need to do this first. Go to a specialty dining area and make those reservations because the good restaurants and the good times fill up fast. Second, head to the main buffet or the pool deck grill and grab some lunch. Also, you can go to the main dining room, which is a lot quieter on embarkation day for lunch. And third, just explore. Go to the top deck, take in the views, see the pool area, get your bearings on the ship, because in 2 or 3 more hours, this place is going to be completely transformed when all the guests arrive on the ship. And if you have priority access, you're going to be doing all of this before the rush. The ship is quiet, the crew is attentive because there are fewer guests on board, and you get to experience that magic first on moment that honestly, I think is worth the price of the add-on by itself. So that's all I wanted to talk about today, guys. I hope this video was informative. Let me know in the comments. Would you pay over $100 to board with priority access with NCL, or do you think it's a complete waste of money? Let me know in the comments. I'm Ashley Neal, and I'll see you in the next video.